Utilize import and export tools. After completing this video, you will be able to identify object types that can be transferred using LandXML, FBX, SHP, and ASCII formatted files. Identify different ways to import Civil 3D objects, export feature lines, and export Civil 3D content as solids. Knowing which file type supports which object ensures you choose the correct export method for your project. LandXML is the most common Civil 3D transfer format. It supports alignments and profiles, corridors and surfaces, pipe networks and parcels, points and coordinate geometry data. Other formats that are supported are things like FBX, which is used for visualization and rendering, and it exports 3D solids, surfaces, and corridor models for software like 3ds Max or InfraWorks. Next is a shapefile format, which is for your GIS systems. These store vector geometry and attributes like parcel boundaries or right-of-way lines. And then finally is your ASCII files, which are text files or CSV files. And these are used for survey data and points, typically containing northing, easting, and elevation. Whether you're importing a shapefile or connecting to a shapefile, you'll want to change to the different workspace. In the status bar, we'll expand the workspace switching tool and select Planning and Analysis. If you want to connect to GIS data, you can use the Connect option here, and this will keep you connected with a live link. However, that geometry isn't as easy to work with, so it's often better if you need to subdivide a parcel to actually import it. To actually insert it, you need to go to the Insert tab, and on the Import panel, click Map Import. This will bring up a dialog box that allows you to choose the type of file you want to import, whether it's a shapefile, a DGN file, or some other file type. I'm going to let it take my Esri shapefile. Then I'll find my file. In the dialog box that appears, you'll notice that the file I selected has an NH83 coordinate system assigned to it. Luckily, so does my drawing file. And if I would like to import my polygons as polylines from that shapefile, I need to check mark that. And if I want any of the data to come in, I can choose the data option and tell it to create object data using the data that it has available for me. I can select the fields that I want to bring across, such as the feature ID or the parcel number, the area, layer, and length, and any other fields that might be in that database file that came with your shapefiles. Then you'll click OK, and when you're done, you'll simply click OK. And you'll see it brought in a single polyline that is the property boundary for this project. At the end of the project, if you would like to take the parcels that you've developed and export them out, you'll make sure that you have the right layer on so that you can see them. Then, on the Output tab of the Planning and Analysis toolspace, you'll go to the Map Data Transfer panel and click DWG to SDF. And while I could export them as SDF, I'm going to change my file type to a shapefile and decide what I want to call this. These will be my property lots. I'll click OK. On the object of type, I'll need to check the polygon type. For the layers, I can select all my objects that are on a specific layer. And for my purposes, I want to select the layer that is my property lots layer. I'll select that, click Select. Then I need to tell it how to handle the data. On the Data tab, I'll select which attributes I want to go with it, whether that's any of the object properties that you see, or the object data, or the area and length coming from the object properties. I'll select the attributes I want and click OK. And then on the Options tab, I can tell it whether or not I want to do a coordinate transformation. If I know that I need to give this file to someone in a coordinate system other than the current drawing coordinate system, I can check mark the Convert Coordinates to and select the coordinate system I need. Right now mine's going to the lat long 84. If I needed to select a different system, I could click on the globe and select one of the coordinate systems from the list. Last but not least, I need to treat closed polylines as polygons. So I make sure I check mark that so that it takes the polylines in my drawing and turns them into polygons in the shapefile that I'm exporting. I'll click OK, and it exported those files. And you can see the results. It had 4 objects, 4 were selected and 4 exported. To export other types of files for Civil 3D, I might want to go back to the Civil 3D workspace. So on the status bar, workspace switching tool, I'll select Civil 3D, and on the Output tab for Civil 3D, I can choose to export IMX files to put that back into InfraWorks. I can export LandXML files. I can export to storm sewers or Civil 3D objects to SDF. There's a number of things that I can export to. I'll go ahead and export to LandXML, and you'll see a dialog box appear. This is where I can choose what I want to export. If I'm exporting my surfaces, I want to also make sure that I export any feature lines so that those feature lines go with the surface and make it more accurate. I could also export site feature lines if I needed to, and I can edit the export settings and know what I'm exporting. So for the identification, I can write identification elements. I can turn that on or off. For the settings, I can set the units that I want to use and the degrees or angle format that I want to use, and many other options. When it comes to feature lines, if the feature lines are unnamed, I can go ahead and tell it to name those. So I'll turn that on and give it a naming template. If it's parcels, I can decide if I want those parcels to go clockwise or counterclockwise as far as the descriptions go. And when it comes to alignments, I can have it export cross sections as well as the alignment. When I have it set the way I want, I'll click OK, and I've selected the items that I want, so I'll click OK. It's going to ask for an LandXML file. I'll need to give it my project name or the file name that I wish, and click Save. And then finally, if I would like to export my corridor or surface or other items as 3D objects, when I select the item in the model, you'll notice that on the contextual ribbon, Corridor Tools panel, I can extract corridor solids. When I click that, it's going to ask me to select the station range or all of the regions. I'm going to do all regions. And it will pop up and tell me which regions are available. I'll select which regions I want, giving it the color and the solid name that I wish to use. Click Next. Select any property data that I would like to include. Click Next. And then select the output. Do I want to output them to the current drawing, to an existing drawing, or to a new drawing? This is helpful when I need to send things out to another drawing to share it with a colleague. I'll choose a new drawing and I'll give it a name and click Save. Then I'll extract those solids. Alternatively, I can go to the Output tab and export Civil 3D drawings and select the type of file I want to do, whether I want to export it to a DGN file for MicroStation users or a DWG file. And I can select the export settings by clicking the Export Settings, choosing the version that I need to export it to, the units, and the seed file, and map any setup. If I need to create mapping, I can select that and do New. And the mapping type is an export. It's based on the standard. I'll click Continue. And here I can tell it what line types and layers I want to export and how they'll map to the DGN file. I can also set my line weights, how I want those to map to the DGN file, and the colors. I'm going to click Cancel and close this. When I'm done, I'll click OK and click Export. I'm not actually going to export anything at the moment. I'll just click Cancel.